Hey, how's it going guys? Chris here, and so is that Star Wars Battlefront Scarif DLC. There's a couple of new guns that have been added to the HUT contracts, and I'll be going over both of these, but the first one I'll be checking out and running over is a blaster pistol called the A180, which is used by Jyn Erso, one of the new heroes in the DLC, and of course the leading protagonist in the Rogue One movie, which the Scarif DLC is all based around. Now, DICE have been thinking outside of the box with this one. The A180 is definitely a very different kind of weapon that we're used to seeing, and it's probably the most interesting firearm in not just the DLC, but in the entire game. As on the face of it, the weapon might just look like some ordinary blaster pistol, but the A180 isn't. It can have several different attachments and modifications fitted to the end of its barrel, which all replicate different weapons using completely different mechanics, allowing you to adapt to your situation and deal with opponents easier at specific ranges and in certain scenarios. Apart from the standard pistol, which is the weapon's base form, you can snap on 3 special attachments to transform the gun into a totally different beast. These configurations turn the A180 pistol into a blaster rifle, sniper and ion detonator temporarily, which are all going to have their own advantages and can be used independently on the fly. Although the A180 might sound like overkill, these said attachments have to be used separately from one another. And they're also going to completely replace your star card hand apart from your chosen trait, which is still going to be active. Just like the star cards though, each attachment has a cooldown time, and once it's been used, you're going to have to wait for that attachment to become available again. So in a way, these 3 modifications essentially play out like star cards themselves. And despite them being built into the weapon's mechanics, they actually act fairly similar to some of the star cards that you can equip onto a hand already. Power-ups can still be picked up and used alongside those hero and vehicle tokens, and the attachment cooldowns act identically to the star cards, meaning they can also be reset from the card refresh power-up. I'm going to talk more about the A180's mechanics and all those flashy new accessories that come with it a bit later on, but right now it's time to see how the gun's actually unlocked. So first things first, being a DLC weapon, you're going to need to have that Rogue One Scarif DLC installed, and then you can pay Jabba a visit and buy the Jyn Solution HUT contract. If you're planning on unlocking both of the new weapons in the DLC, which I'm going to presume that you are, then I'd highly advise buying both the Jyn Solution and Krennic's Offense HUT contracts together, as some of the requirements do overlap and there's no point doing the same task twice, as you might as well just kill 2 birds with 1 stone and save a bit of time. Though the Jyn Solution contract is the one that you'll need to focus on to get the A180, and it's going to give you 3 separate requirements that are all kill related, and are pretty easy and straightforward to complete. The first task on the list requires you to get yourself 25 kills with blaster pistols, so just equip one of the many blaster pistols in the game and kill a bunch of people. These kills accumulate over rounds, so don't worry if you don't get loads in a match, as you can hop into your next one and continue your work towards this task. The second assignment is pretty much the same as the first, though you'll need to swap that pistol out for a blaster rifle such as the E11 or the A280C, and get 30 kills with that. I should point out that kills with heavy blasters won't count towards this, so if you're planning on going riot with the TL50, then I'm afraid you're not going to go very far with this contract. Just make sure that the weapon is classified as a blaster rifle first before jumping into a match. Last of all is yet another kill related task, which requires you to get 20 kills with targeting rifles, which are the longer range weapons of the game such as the T21B and the Relby V10. And once all 3 of these requirements are met, you'll finally be able to equip your very own A180 blaster pistol. And the 3 attachments that are used with the weapon don't need to be unlocked, and are all going to come with the gun together as one deadly package. But how does this new weapon actually play out? Well, in its standard pistol form, which is the primary function of the gun, it feels like a standard semi-auto blaster pistol, firing at a moderate rate and killing in about 4 shots up close, with it becoming much weaker over distance. As a pistol, it's not too bad, but definitely doesn't pack as much punch as some of the others, and with those shots dealing a medium amount of damage, and because it's not the strongest at range, this renders the pistol almost useless at long distances. Though it's the A180's different configurations that make the gun stand out from the others, and although you might not be able to easily take on an enemy further away with that pistol fire, the gun's got a little trick up its sleeve to deal with anyone who lies within these long ranges. By switching over to the sniper mode, you're going to have a powerful shot that can often kill opponents at long ranges in just 1 hit. It plays out in a similar way to the cycler rifle, only it doesn't have any bullet drop, being an energy-based projectile, and it's also going to deal more damage at range and less up close, meaning you can often kill other players in the distance with 1 shot to the body, unlike the cycler rifle which won't, unless your target's already taken a bit of damage first. There is a slight delay that you'll need to take into account for your shot to travel through the air, so moving targets will often need to be led, though this velocity is a lot quicker than your standard blaster fire. After every sniper shot fired, you'll need to wait a short while for it to cool down, and although it can kill at long ranges in one hit to the body, it won't always do this, with some of your opponents having health boosts from batter bombs, along with others using the bodyguard trait. So don't be too surprised if your perfectly lined up shot across the map doesn't insta-kill that guy dashing off to the objective. Another weapon mod that you can fit onto the pistol is the rifle, which basically turns the gun into a powerful automatic blaster rifle for about 7 or so seconds, which will then need to cool down to be used once again. The rifle can kill in just a few shots up close, and a fair few more at range, just like the pistol. But because you're firing in full auto, at a much quicker rate, you can kill your enemies a lot easier. And with the rifle mode acting as a configuration, this means that you can hold down on that trigger and go crazy, because it's not going to overheat, allowing you to swiftly take out several enemies one after the other, so long as the rifle stays active. It does feel pretty damn powerful, and it can often be the most effective way to take on other players at closer to medium ranges while using the A180. As for the ion launcher, this is more of an anti-vehicle tool, as it plays out in a similar way to the ion grenade, heavily damaging droids, shields and vehicles. Although it acts a bit like the TL-50 secondary fire, arcing through the air and detonating on impact, it's not going to do a hell of a lot of damage against infantry, as it'll only take a small portion of health away, even if the bomb lands right at their feet. Though with the splash damage, it might be an easy way to directly affect several enemies huddled together, or for finishing off someone hiding behind cover. But its primary use is for vandalising those enemy machines, and it can destroy droids and AI controlled turrets in a singular blast, deal tons of damage to shields, and rip out chunks of health from opposing AT-STs and AT-ATs, which might make it a more viable option when playing as the rebels. It can also destroy stationary player control turrets too really easily, making the ion launcher a pretty useful tool for destruction, playing the objective and denying enemy pickups. One thing to keep in mind about all of the pistol mods is that they do take a small amount of time to actually slot onto the gun and set up. You're going to be slightly vulnerable while swapping these attachments around, so it's usually best to switch them over when you're in a safe place and out of enemy sightlines. Although you can't use any star cards alongside these mods, the trait card in your selected hand will always be active. The Bounty Hunter trait is going to lower the cooldown for each of the mods, just like they would normally do with star cards, which might make that a good option to pick. Though a damage increasing trait such as Berserker or Sharpshooter could also be effective too, making that pistol a tad stronger and easier to use. These traits won't affect the modifications, but some extra firepower behind that pistol is definitely going to make it feel like a more viable option, and you won't always have to depend on that rifle mode to get you out of tricky situations. So overall, the A180 is a versatile weapon which basically functions like a fairly normal pistol, but with a bit of a twist, having those free attachments. In a way, these free mods do offer some things that can't be replicated exactly with existing star cards, though with them being tied down to the gun's mechanics, it doesn't leave you with much room for customization. It's generally best to play defensively with the A180, as you've got no way of really healing yourself or escaping from battle when shit hits the fan, as you can't jump back your way to safety, activate any personal shields, or regain lost health from batter bombs, leaving you as a more vulnerable target open to attack. Though the modifications do offer some unique dynamics, letting you deal with different situations and take on your enemies over a wide range. To some people, the gun might feel too gimmicky and restricting to pick over the other weapons, though if you're willing to adapt to your surroundings and utilise the A180's strengths, then it might be a blaster worth checking out. But anyway, that's all I've got for you in this one. Thanks for watching. I've got loads of other Battlefront guides on my channel, so feel free to check those out, and stay tuned for the DT29 weapon guide, which is going to be out soon. Take it easy guys, and I'll be seeing you in that next one.